over the last 2 years of witnessing the most horrific thing that I've ever seen or read about in history books, frankly. This bloodletting in Gaza pales in, and everything that I've ever learned about pales in comparison to what I have witnessed in 4K on my phone for 2 years straight. And it's not only revealed the lack of humanity and just the criminality of not only governments, but these global institutions that were created under the auspices to prevent tragedies like this, prevent state actors from committing genocide. Not only has that been revealed as just a complete farce and as a tool for empire. I mean, for my entire life's career, I've always thought that if people just knew the situation in Palestine or if they knew what their government was doing around the world, they would care. And I have to face the really harsh truth that there's a small contingent of people who don't care, but that my fellow colleagues are complicit and lack empathy. They lack empathy and solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are being brutalized and murdered. I mean, look no further than what happened in apartheid South Africa. Arms embargo, trade embargo, sanctions, and also just boycotts, artistic, cultural boycotts, academic boycotts, sports boycotts. All of these things are extremely paramount. For governments, that is like the most basic measures possible. Get the embassies out, suspend the diplomats, stop the trade, and stop shipping weapons, which was cementing just the most basic measures possible. Arresting war criminal Netanyahu if he comes through your jurisdiction. Stop shipping weapons to a genocidal rogue state. States are completely, fully complicit, and I think it all comes down to being threatened with a nuclear empire. There's a barrel of a gun held to the heads of the world from the United States, and that's why this genocide is raging on. It's been ongoing for 2 years. We're talking about over 200 journalists and media workers that have been systematically slaughtered, many alongside their entire families. New York Times editorial board should be tried at The Hague next to Netanyahu and the Trump administration and the Biden administration for their complicity in manufacturing consent for this genocide. Corporate media is subsidized by the very corporations that profit from war, banks, oil companies, and defense contractors. And all of these board members sit on interlocking boards of directorates with each other. And if you're not a true believer in the system, and if you're not an ardent Zionist, then you have to self-censor. If you don't self-censor, you will lose your job immediately. But they still don't have the confidence to attach their name to the letter. So I am horrified and disgusted at the silence from mainstream journalist institutions at the lack of solidarity for their murdered colleagues. Because if they think that's going to start and stop in Gaza, they are sorely mistaken. This is obviously a testing ground and a warning shot to the rest of the world to fall in line. It's money, money, money. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and billionaire Zionist donors. This has nothing to do with freedom and democracy or human rights. As the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, these people are making bank and they're having a great time on their yachts. So, as dystopian and perplexing as it is for the rest of us, the fact that the flotilla happened, that hundreds of people risked their lives, citizens had to put their bodies on the line to do what governments have failed to do, that brings me hope, that brings me love, and that brings me strength. My mind is just barbarism and savagery, shock and horror. And I continue to be shocked and horrified every day that this is continuing, that babies are starving to death and the world looks away. And the only thing I can think of is that anti-Muslim bigotry is so extreme and normalized that this is what the world has accepted. Bombing and starving children in a cage for 2 years, that's acceptable because of how Islamophobic the planet is.